Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Zach, aka Keats39 here, back with some more NFL action for the first time this year. Going to be breaking down this Hall of Fame football game taking place in Canton, Ohio, between my Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. First thing to note, really, is I would not expect very many of the any starters to play. I think there could be maybe a drive for some of them, but really would not bank on that. So anyone who hasn't played preseason DFS or in the past, it's a lot different experience than any other regular type of football. First thing to note is defenses are probably going to be the most popular plays, and that is the right decision. I am big on. I think defense should be taken out of DFS. I've always thought that, but in this scenario, they're easily the best play. I don't really have a preference on either. I think that the Steelers' backup quarterbacks are a little better than Dallas's, but I think that there is a lot to. I think that the other positions, I think Dallas probably has a slight edge. Other than running back, but I'm going to be using both. I expect a lot of sacks. The total's 32.5, I think was the last I saw. So it shows you another reason why you play defenses. So like when you get these backups on backups, typically like if a defense, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. When you have defenses are always going to be on the field. So like, say you play, I'll just throw out Tony Pollard. I would not play him, by the way, but I'm just going to say you play Tony Pollard. He gives you one series, gives you 20 rushing yards. He's done from that point on. You're not going to get any points from him, whereas the defense, you're literally getting points the whole game. So that's one benefit. They just have a way higher floor. And I've always, when there's bad on bad, I typically just prefer the bad defense. Like, that's what you'll see. A lot of my defensive plays in regular DFS this year will all be cheap. So, yeah, probably want even more than I needed to on that. You're just playing both defenses, locking them in, especially cash. So some of the other plays, it's going to be tough. We'll have more news before the game, hopefully, on, like, quarterback situation. Ben and Dak both won't play. Steelers have a pretty straightforward. Mason Rudolph will be starting, and then Dwayne Haskins will come in after him to finish the first half, and then Josh Dobbs will finish the game. I have a lot of interest in Josh Dobbs right now. He's kind of like my third kind of core play, I would say. He's not very good, but he's not as bad as many. He'll be one of the better fourth string quarterbacks that you'll see. As he's been able to stay on rosters the last couple of years, going from Steelers back to Jacksonville, back to Pittsburgh here. And I think he probably would have got a roster spot if it wasn't for the Steelers picking up Dwayne Haskins. But has some rushing upside. I'm pretty sure he had a long touchdown run in the preseason last year, if I do remember that correctly. But yeah, you're just going to play him just for the sheer volume. Then I prefer Dwayne Haskins over Mason Rudolph. I do think that the Steelers have seen a lot of Mason Rudolph. They want him to be the future. So they know what to have. Dwayne Haskins is kind of this project where he's really, really bad in Washington, gets cut for multiple reasons, and fell into the Steelers' lap. You get a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. You get him for basically free. So they're going to want to see all, and you've seen that in the practice. He's taken the most reps out of any of the quarterbacks, so a lot of interest there. Mike Tomlin said he wanted to practice Najee Harris like he's going to play, so I expect him to go through warm-ups. I still don't expect him to play, and if he plays, I think it's one drive. And he did get banged up last practice, I saw, but he went back and was fine, but just all the more reason I don't really expect him to play. They're going to need him a lot this year. They've spent a first-round pick on him, so I expect a very heavy workload. No point in playing him in this Hall of Fame game. Benny Snell did not practice in the second or Tuesday, which was the practice before this. I do not expect him to play. And then the Steelers have 5 backs that really will probably see time. And they all have like some decent work history. I really like Anthony McFarland. I thought he should have been playing last year over guys like Benny Snow and even James Conner. I just don't like. I think he is a very solid GPP play. Whereas if he even sees a quarter and a half, he catches passes very well. And just being able to have that hub before to catch 2 passes and run 5 times, that's nice in a DFS type slate. Jalen Samuels, I think he's the guy to be the guy that he's going to get cut. I think so. Could see a little extra workload here. I think Kalen Ballage, the Steelers want to be good. They want him to make the roster. So it's just those are. And Trey Edmonds actually have a decent amount of interest. I think he could probably play the most snaps out of all of them. He's played special teams for them in the past. And yeah, I think that he makes a pretty decent play here. Out of the wide receivers, I really don't have any interest at all in any of the top 3 for sure. Definitely don't expect anything more than a drive out of them. And I think the same for James Washington. I think he could see like 2 drives. He's been really good in past preseasons, but I just don't. He's a lock to make the roster, so I just don't think you see him really at all tomorrow. Ray McLeod I have a little bit of interest in. I think he's pretty much a lock to be the 5th guy. Did get banged up, I think, last practice. I read that somewhere. I could be wrong. But I could see him playing the whole first quarter, maybe even a little in the second. And they like to get gadget plays for him. While I don't really expect that in this type of game. It's the only other skill guys I have any interest from in the Steelers. Rico Bussey, he's been the best receiver in camp out of all these other guys. He was led in receptions and yards, and had a couple highlight catches from other beat reports I read. And so for these like outside guys, I like to use Player Profiler, just to see what kind of guys you can like take a shot on. That's why I play a lot of dynasty football leagues. That's what I use for a lot of outside guys. Rico Bussey, he has a player comp to Dante Pettis. Has a little bit of explosion. Nothing crazy in the college target share. Breakout age was really good, which is always nice, but he did go to a smaller school in Hawaii. Played not as great opponents, but yeah. And then the only other one I have interest in is Anthony Johnson, who also was having a pretty decent camp, but I looked at his player comp. He's just a jump ball guy, so I think he could become alive in the red zone. But Rico Bussey is my favorite Steeler skilled guy. Over to Dallas, no Dak, obviously. I don't expect Garrett Gilbert to play too much. I think it's going to be a lot of Ben DiNucci, Cooper Rush. My favorite play out of those 2 is, honestly, if we get an order, it's whoever comes in last. But I lean slightly to Cooper Rush. No preseason last year, but the year before, he led the team in passing 3 games. He had attempted 25 passes, 16 passes, 26 passes. They just like to give him work in the preseason. Everything I read was Ben DiNucci's been awful in camp, which could make him get a little more runs just to try to make sure that they get the right guy between those 2. But I really feel confident that Cooper Rush is the better quarterback from the 2, so I slightly lean him. But I do like Ben DiNucci from Draftkings perspective. I don't expect to see much of Zeke or Pollard at all. That'll leave Rico Dowdle, Jaquan Hardy, and Brendan Knox. I think all 3 of these guys are very in play. The Steelers had 5 backs that will probably see a decent amount of time and split. I think all 3 of those guys see a lot of time. My favorite was Jaquan Hardy. Like Rico Dowdle too. Looking at their player profiles, Jaquan Hardy, nothing great, but he averaged 7.6 yards per carry in college, was really dominant in college. Went to a really, really bad school, though, so it's hard to judge. Can catch passes a little bit, so I like him. And then Rico Dowdle, a little more explosive, a little faster. just not as good in college. But he did go to South Carolina, which is a better school, obviously. So I like both those guys a pretty decent amount. Even Brandon Knox, I don't even know much about him. His player profile, he's very slow and just not that explosive, so that's why I prefer the other two. But honestly, all three vary in play just because they're going to see a decent amount of time. And then I'm not going to talk too much about these scope guys either. My favorite plays are Noah Brown, who I think is pretty much locked to make this roster as well. But I think he could see like the whole first half, just because he's not a normal rotation guy, but he is pretty good, and yeah, I just think that he's the one guy from like Cedric Wilson. I think was too good last year. I really don't expect to see him much at all, but he's worth a GPP play in case he does get a half because he is really solid. I like Noah Brown. Simi Fehiko, I definitely botched that name, but he's the one guy that jumps off the page. He's the only guy when I looked at these player comps, and I looked at him for pretty much every skilled guy that had anything decent. His player comp is Alshon Jeffrey. He has a late breakout age, but that's because he did something. He didn't go straight to school. I don't remember what it was, but he did something. Didn't go straight to school, so his breakout age is bad. But he's a really big guy, ran a really good 40. One of the only guys that got drafted out of all these guys too, which is also nice. But 77th percentile college dominator. Yeah, just a 6'4" guy that can run 4.5. You want to take, especially in these preseason games, you're going to see botch coverages. So a guy like this really could be a guy that just catches a long touchdown, and that's what I'm here for, really. Malik Turner, NFL guy. I could see them wanting to play him in special teams so he could get a little extra run. But Dallas probably has 8 or 9 receivers that are going to get run tomorrow, so I really don't want to touch any of them. Noah Brown and Simi are the two that I have interest in. And then they have 4 tight ends that you'll probably see a lot of run. Steelers have probably 4 as well. And then for a lot of these showdowns, if they have one active kicker, you're gonna want to play that active kicker. Just gives you more of a floor. That does not happen in this one. Greg Zuerlein is not going to play tomorrow. He didn't travel, so they're going to use their punter, which I would have interest in, but he's not in the player pool. And then Steelers are going to run Chris Boswell and Sam Sloman. Boswell was really good last year, so I don't know how they're going to play this. If maybe they'll let Sloman kick all of them tomorrow. I kind of expect to just go back and forth all preseason, so I don't really have too much interest in either of them. I think they're in play. Just I'd rather play like one of the Dallas running backs and the quarterback. So yeah, that's going to do it. Make sure to hop in the Discord. I'm sure we're going to get some extra news for tomorrow. We're going to be covering all this preseason, so really looking forward to it. Always enjoy playing these types of sports where it takes a little extra research to try to get a better understanding of it. So yeah, until next time. Later.